if you have a group that is willing to trust you and go down a road with you like that, in itself is an amazing thing. The concept of getting into a fight is one thing, but then the concept of trusting a group of people to take on a challenge like that, willingly or unwillingly, even more special.
Fear or danger, those little micro things that we go through day to day actually don't mean anything.
But yeah, like, are you gonna like plant your flag and say this territory's mine, come take it? Or are you gonna put yourself in that ambiguous area? I would rather not, because that's like at 3 a.m. 10 years from now, you're gonna get up to take a piss and you're not gonna be able to go back to sleep because you're gonna remember that shitty decision you made where you let yourself down.
This episode is sponsored by Black Label Meat. Black Label Meat only sells premium quality meat that is grass-fed, grass-finished, and they do regenerative grazing practices. Check them out now, blacklabelmeatcompany.com, and use the code Jesse for 10% off. Brian Wright, I want to thank you for jumping on the podcast today. Short notice, but you made it happen. So I appreciate that. You are
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, you are a kickboxing coach and a former kickboxer yourself, right?
So I'm an MMA coach. Kickboxing is one of the skill sets that we do. I was an MMA fighter and a kickboxer myself. Yes.
All right. So I want to jump straight into a huge belief that I have is that at some point in every man's life, he should get in a fight to truly see really what he's made of. I think it's important. And I think in this day and age, we don't have any sort of ways to physically test ourselves like that. Because if you just go back 100 years and prior, almost every man had a large possibility of going to some sort of combat, whether it was war, just testing their skills amongst other tribesmen. And we just don't do anything like that today.
Yeah, I feel that I don't necessarily if you have to get into a fight necessarily, but I think you have to understand what that interaction's going to be. I literally was just talking to somebody yesterday about it where they were feeling inadequate because they had an interaction and they walked away from something. And I was like, did you walk away with it because you were scared of it? Did you walk away with it feeling that you didn't do enough? Were you not satisfied with the interaction? And it was really, they walked away from fear, but then claimed they were taking the high road. And I'm like, you can't take the high road if the only road you know is running. You do have to face yourself and you have to face your fears. You have to be capable of both sides of it to say that you have a choice. If you're only capable of one side, it's no choice. It's the only thing you do. So yes, I think we all have to be faced with the ability to address challenge, to address conflict, and we have to be prepared to take it to however far it's going to go. Because if we're only going to take it as far, like, you know what I'm saying? It's like you can't say you're a peaceful person if you're not capable of war. If you're capable of war and you choose not to make war, you're now a person of peace. So you have to have that balance.
Yeah, and when I say every man getting in a fight, I don't mean stand outside your local Walmart and see which guy you can piss off. Because I've even told guys like, go to a local boxing or MMA gym and just spar with someone. He's going to be going at a small percentage, and you're going to give it your all, and you're going to really find out what you're made of. If you're even willing to step into that ring or cage, because we just don't do those things. I have a Bible study group, and I've literally dragged them all down to the boxing gym. And it's like, we're all fucking sparring. And I've done it where I didn't tell them what we were doing. It's just like, hey, 5 p.m., here's the location. We're all going to meet up for a men's night. And then they get there and they see other people punching each other. And it's like, guess what? I went and bought everybody a $5 mouthpiece. They have water. We'll boil it. And we're all getting in.
Yeah. That's an interesting little challenge there. If you have a group that is willing to trust you and go down a road with you like that, in itself is an amazing thing. I think that the concept of getting into a fight is one thing, but then the concept of trusting a group of people to take on a challenge like that, willingly or unwillingly, is even more special. I find trust is the hardest part right now getting people to trust each other and to work together, then
Mhm.
to do that with a challenge like that, that's like a whole nother level. So that's really cool. I like that.
Again, I don't know if it's because my mom was Mexican, but they had me in boxing at a very, very young age. My grandparents always watched the big fights when I was a little kid, and me just running around watching it. So there's an aspect where it was kind of ingrained in me.
It's cultural.
And exactly. And then even growing up in elementary school, middle school, high school, I tended to be the kid who was willing to meet anyone at a park. And then in college, I never had been in a fight intoxicated. I was never that guy. I was too hugging, loving. I was that guy who was drunk. But I always would tell buddies, like, dude, you just got to do it once to see what you're made of, because it takes we see it on TV, and these guys walk into the ring and they get all this glory. But the thing that we don't see is like the nerves that it takes, that I'm sure you've experienced. And in that video, that which really caught my attention, the nerves that happen from whether you're 6 years old or 36 years old, because you are going into an area where the other man is intentionally trying to hurt you or outsmart you, and you have to try and do the same thing and inflict as much pain on them as possible.
So fighting, competitive fighting like kickboxing in particular, it's an agreement. We go out there, we shake hands,
Mm-hmm.
and it's a mutual agreement to hit each other. And we're going to keep doing it until the referee stops or we run out of time. It's a very odd thing to say. Like, hey buddy, let's touch gloves and let's go. It's not a normal experience for the average person. And my son is 6 years old. His older brother is 11. He had his first fight in kickboxing last year. He's in the crowd, reads five. He sees his brother, and he goes, "I want to do this." The he's desensitized to the barrier there because this isn't my family. Again, like yours, it's a cultural thing. So he's going, "Cool. I want to do this. I want to be like my big bro." All year, I want to be like my brother. I want to be like my brother. I'm training. I'm training. I'm training. He trains all summer. We go to the event, and he warms up. I'm ready to go. I'm ready to go. I'm ready to go. The whole time, he's just fired up. Then we go to the table and we get the gloves. We put the shin guards on. And I put the headgear on him, and I go to put the gloves on him, and then he just melts down because he's looking at four rings and all these guys banging out, doing their thing, and he's like, "Oh my god, I really have to do this now. This is it's not an abstract. This isn't a conversation anymore. I have to go do this thing." And he freaked out. But the craziest part about this is, so I put this video out of this moment that I never expected to happen. The majority of the people that are commenting on it are high level fighters, UFC, PFL, Bellator. And they're going, that little man is expressing what I feel internally that I'm like hiding from everybody else in the room when I'm in the back.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't matter how old you are. It's just the honesty of age. When you're six, you don't care. You're raw. You have no filter. And so that emotion that he put out is what we all feel when faced with a big, challenge that maybe we've never done before, or just that overwhelming pressure we feel at times. For him, it was that fight, but there are just so many moments where we're screaming on the inside, shit, you know, do I really have to do this? And we have to fight through that. And it resonated with so many dads because we're all scared. How is our kid going to respond in the moment? Every dad, we're all afraid of like, how are our kids going to handle adversity?
Mm-hmm.
So this thing, it hit us as dads, it hit fighters as just men that are scared. And fighters, the thing that's really an odd thing for people in my industry, a lot of us people look at us as like the epitome of strength because we happen to make it into these rings and cages to do what we do. But we're just normal people that this is just happens to be our profession. We're no stronger, no weaker. We are just people, and this is our job. And we have the same feelings that everybody else has about other things, and we're working through it too. We just do it in a way that the consequence may go on repeat if it's entertaining enough. You know, every fighter is worried about two things: they don't want to run out of gas, and they don't want to get knocked out. And it's because they don't want to not be able to perform because they run out of gas. There's nothing worse than running out of gas in a fight because you walk out of there going, shit, I wasn't able to do what I wanted to, and I probably look stupid. And then when you get knocked out, you just don't want to be that guy. You don't want to be the highlight reel knockout that like the UFC uses for the intro for the next decade. But it happens. It happens, and it's a risk you got to take. I find the two biggest things as humans that we struggle with is fear of failure and fear of judgment. And when you can get over that abstract idea that the world's really paying that much of attention, most people are just projecting their own stuff. They're not even really looking at you. And the only thing that really matters is, can you be satisfied with your actions? Can you be satisfied with your choices? Because you're the only one who knows ultimately what gets you to do what you do. Did you give 100%? Only you know that. You may project that you gave your all, but you know if you had more or not. And that's what you have to live with. So I approach everything from the viewpoint of, I really don't care what the world has to say. When I choose to do something, I have to do my best with it, and that's enough for me. If my best makes me the best, fantastic. But if I'm just being my best, at least that's all I can do. I can't be better than that. So I can
Mm-hmm.
find satisfaction, maybe not happiness. Maybe I'm not happy that it didn't push me far enough, but I have to be satisfied with the reality of what I did and what my choice was. And, to see my son being faced with that so early, it was scary as hell, but it's a special moment. And again, it like connects us. You and I are talking because of that moment. Other people are having conversations because of the moment. And that's what's made this week rather interesting is we've had more conversations around this idea, which I think is ultimately the point. Winning and losing in a fight, getting into a fist fight is not the thing. It's facing this thing and figuring out who you are and then deciding, am I going to go forward carrying strength from an experience, or am I going to get caught in the conversation and really lose the meaning?
Yeah, over your son, he ultimately got in the ring, correct?
Yes.
So he was able to overcome that adversity, like you said, overcome fear. And as humans, we just don't do anything that causes fear in us because we have this huge lack of doing anything that's dangerous or doing anything that causes any sort of fear. I think it creates other micro anxieties like, oh, I'm going to be late to the airport. And then you see those people have tons of emotions and stress. But it's like, if you're actually someone who just is put yourself in a place of fear or danger, it's like those little micro things that we go through day to day actually don't mean anything. Like you don't have these little simple fears, in my opinion.
So I I I understand where you're coming from, but I'm dealing with people from 5 years old
Hmm.
to people in their 50s and 60s, right? So I'm dealing with everybody. And I mean, I'm 50. I've been running my own academy for 26 years. I started when I was 24. I was probably way too young to do that, but whatever, that's another conversation. But at this point, married, two kids, been doing this 26 years. I don't think anything's changed on a human level. I think we're the same. But the messages that we're confronted with and what we define the challenges and the fears have changed. So where you're saying a lack of physical confrontation kind of challenges is causing other issues. I think that we're just picking and choosing different challenges at this time that have consequences and benefits that are different. And one of the main problems is, I mean, this device is a problem. Our phones make us feel as if we're absorbing information, we're taking on challenges, we're interacting, but we're alone in a room or we're sitting in the midst of 100 people but not connected to any of them. So it's this lonely space, which what happens when you take a person, you leave them alone too long, they literally go crazy. So when we hyper focus on this device and we're not getting all the biological benefits of actual physical interaction, we have this sense of being alone, which then creates more anxiety and we're constantly being judged. Because if my phone right now, like nothing's happening in this moment, but the potential of what could happen, it's this massive anxiety event. I could get a phone call, I could get a text message, I could get a DM, I could get a comment. Somebody could post a video about me. There's so much possibility, and we carry this anxiety around in our pocket all the time. And it hasn't been with us that long, but it's something that we don't address early enough. And I think young people in particular, their fight is not the fight that maybe we know. I don't know how old you are, but like how old are you, by the way?
37. I'll be 38
Okay,
in like
so
3 months.
got you. So you still know life with and without the phone.
Oh yeah.
People that don't know life without it they don't understand interaction the same way. It's a much lonelier existence that brings its own challenges, its own struggles, and those challenges and those struggles, what we're talking about as a fight is now their fight, and they don't know otherwise. So, like, I have a 20-year-old who lives at home, has a crappy job, but is buying Jordans, driving a car they can't afford, no money in the bank, no girlfriend. It's like all this stuff. And it's because they have this sense of like, what's the point? Because there's just so much lack of connection, which leads to lack of a sense of opportunity. And then there's so much protection. They feel alone and being hung out, but they're actually insulated. They're in this bubble of protection. They haven't cut the strings and just said, let me go make my way in the world. They don't understand what success and failure actually is. And it's a very complicated moment for particular generations. And it's a struggle between generations because I say, go do this. And then they pull their phone out to verify if I'm right or not because they've never been coached before, because they've
Hmm.
never put themselves in an environment where they have to listen. So it's complicated, but I have patience and I also have empathy for the difference. And I try not to be like, when I was a kid, I'm just like, no, my understanding is different than your understanding. Let's figure out how to let's 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 meet in the middle on what it means to be a successful human being, not the one that's being defined by the trend of the moment, but like biology and science and psychology. Let's deal with the reality. 2 plus 2 is 4. It's not whatever you want it to be. So let's deal with that. So yeah, it's a complicated time, man.
Yeah, it is. It is definitely an interesting time. Because like you're saying, you mentioned even if you were lose a fight, you might not be happy, but as long as you gave it your all, you are 100% comfortable in your own skin. And then
Yes.
we have people living through their phone, and they live a completely different life through their phone because they're able to use their imagination and project something, and they're not actually whole as a person. They're not comfortable in their own skin. They haven't found out who they actually are, which is a very unfortunate thing, especially for this younger generation who is kind of locked into this. I was kind of late to the show when it came to the internet and social media. I'm of that generation where it's like, why would I want anyone to know what I'm doing? And like I understood the business aspect of it, but I'm like, for me personally, I don't care if anyone knows that I went to Hawaii with my family. Like, I don't care.
Yeah. I If I didn't have a business, I probably wouldn't be on social. I've always been into technology. I like technology. I got a phone right away. I mean, my first phone was actually hardwired into my car. I had like the car phone with the wire and stuff. Like,
Hmm.
I had the brick cell phone in the 80s. I've always liked technology. I've liked computers and all that kind of stuff. But it was like the interest of the technology. It wasn't the interest of the interaction. It was always the technology end of it was always interested in me. But yeah, I've gotten to a point now where yeah, I don't know if I really don't care what anyone thinks about my life, and like yeah, I don't need the world to know I went to Hawaii. Uh,
Yeah.
I interact on social so people realize I'm human. I don't want people to have a misinterpretation of who I am from a business perspective. If you're going to walk into my place and you follow me on social, you should be coming in to verify who I am, not figure it out. Like I don't
Hmm.
play a part. I have one face. I am who I am, and I am that way everywhere. Um, and that's how I play the game. I try not to make a game of it. I just try to be honest about it, and that's what allows me to stay active with it and not have anxiety about it. Because like again, You could come at me all you want, don't care. Some guy yesterday, stop trying to live your failed life through your children. And then they went and looked up my wife. My wife's a bodybuilder. And he was like, oh, go figure, self absorbed, steroid muscle mom is married to the guy who's trying to live vicariously through his children. I was like, bro, go get some therapy, man. Like, why you project it on me? Your insecurities, you're trying to make them my problem. Like, you need help. I'm good, bro. Like that would make me laugh a little bit. But I don't care what I'm saying. But my wife, ooh, really hardworking woman who's creating, her life. Gee, shame on her. Me doing what I'm doing, being honest about who I am and whatever. You want to criticize that? That's fine. I don't care. I'm really okay with it. So again, if you're comfortable with yourself, you can put anything out there as long as it's real.
Yeah, no, I agree. And those comments, there's videos that I make that I get tons of negative comments, always less than the positive, of course, but the negative ones, they can be super negative. And I just look at those comments of those people and it's like, I feel for you because the fact that you went out of your way to try and come up with the most negative comment and you put that out there, it's like, you must be a sad human.
If you have to live in a headspace like that, that's where the empathy side for me is, where I'm just like, man, that's where your head's defaulting to. That's how you're interpreting the world through this kind of space. I haven't left many comments. Like, even if I don't like something, I've rarely written anything. Like, if I know somebody, I'll
Mhm.
interact, but it's very rare to see a video that I don't agree with that I'm going to go out of my way to just flame that person. Like, I motivated somebody to really get on the keyboard and type out a full sentence and get that upset and then go look up information. It's like, damn, dude, don't you have things to do? Like, there's more important stuff to do than go shit on people that are trying.
Very true. I want to jump back to the video of you and your son. One, I think it's the most raw and authentic thing. None of that was scripted, so people can actually see who
Hell
you
no.
are for who you are as a human in the moment, and I think it's great. But if you were to take the like 30,000 view of that clip, do you think that everything your son goes through in that moment gives him an advantage over the other 99% of children in life who don't have to go through any adversity because of what he was able to overcome in the moment? Because from
So
my view, I'm going to say yes.
I so I have parent teacher night twice this week, and I see how the school's being organized, and I see how easy they're making it, and I'm like, if my kids half focus, they should be straight A students. If my kids half apply themselves, they should be dominating whatever they choose to do right now. Because I'm looking at them going, these little dudes are challenging themselves to their core in their hobby. I'm like, these kids, the things that they're facing, I don't see many other kids doing it. And at this age, somebody was like, oh, you're traumatizing. I'm like, I'm not traumatizing him. I'm allowing him to express his fear. And I literally slow walked him through it and told him,
Hmm.
Dad gets it because dad feels that way too. And he was like, oh, part of being a man is being scared. You're allowed to cry. You're just not allowed to quit. So my kids understand that if they come to me and they make a commitment, I'm not, I didn't go to my son and go, you have to fight. He came to me and said, I want to fight. All I was there to do was to remind him of the commitment that he made and that he needs to follow through, that he did all that work to get to this moment and he needs to follow through now. No matter how you feel, we all feel this way. Keep going. You're going to feel great in the end. And to learn that at any age gives you an edge, gives you an advantage.
Hmm.
I mean, I have people that come to me in their 50s that have never figured it out that do when things get better. But someone starting at that point, I'm like, I just don't see a downside. It's not a traumatic experience. It's a It's an enlightening experience that he'll never forget. He may never fight again because it was too scary, but he knows he did it that time. And he might find that he wants to put that fear into something else
Hmm.
because the fear is never going to go away. I don't care if you play basketball or, you kickbox, you're going to be scared on game day. But if you know you can kickbox, you sure as shit know you can play basketball. If you're scared about a test at school, you're just going to try. What's the worst thing that could happen? The teacher's not going to run across the ring and hit you with a big straight kick. Like
Hmm.
it minimizes the things that so many of us put a weight onto. We don't get punched in the face for handing in an assignment wrong or being late or just so many of the mundane things. We don't understand the weight of improper action because it doesn't come with a physical pain. Where kickboxing, it's like you do A, B, you get C. If you screw up along the way, there's going to be a price to it. So having that very specific black and white situation, it really does wire you to look at things differently, and it does give you an edge. And I don't care how old you are. And anyone that's criticized say, "Oh, it's too young." It's not too young. It was his choice. It was his choice.
Yeah.
If I threw him in there and I put him through that, I would feel bad. Shit. In that moment, he's like, "I want to go see mom." And I looked over at her and she's like, "He's getting in there." I'm like, "Okay, we're cool." I had to verify mom's on the same
Yeah.
page as dad. And
Yeah.
I was like, "Dude, like, we all agree we got to do this. And you got to do this. So let's get this done." But a big chunk of me was like, I want to pick him up. I want to hug him and I want to run away with him too.
Hmm.
Um, but I also, and I'm literally never expected this to happen. In like 15 seconds, I have like an hour long conversation. I'm like, well, he's freaking out. Should I? Shouldn't I? Do I push him? Do I not push him? But it all came down to I would rather him be upset with me in the moment for pushing him than feel let down a decade from now and looking at making bad choices because I comforted him too much and gave in to his fear. The
Hmm.
hope is 10 years from now, 20 years from now, 30 years from now, he goes, "My dad made me do that thing, and that's why I'm successful." Not, "My dad's a dick and he made me do this." Um, who knows which one it's going to be, but I'm just trying for the best result, man. I'm just doing the best I can. And in the moment, I thought the best thing I could do was have him live up to the commitment he made. And I mean, I can live with that.
I mean, if I were to put a grade on that, I mean, it looked A plus from and being a father and me being someone who I openly judge other parents. I mean, I do, and I'm just going to admit it.
Uh,
But just, I loved how you also were able to relate with him of, hey, I felt the exact same way. You didn't tell him to just get over it. You didn't
no,
tell him you're fine, stop crying. You were like, no, no, no. Everything that you felt, dad has felt too. Dad got in there and result was X. And it's like that's something that I try to tell my sons anytime they fail. It's like, do you realize how many times I got my ass kicked too? And I
yeah,
just kept going to practice and I kept going until I was able to kick everyone's ass in there. Like you just can't give up. And the sticking to the commitment, I'm sure you've seen it dozens of times. Young kids go to their mom or dad because they had a hard practice or a hard or an experience that wasn't perfect for them in some sort of sports setting, and the parents just let them quit. And it's
yeah.
like, what are we teaching these kids? They just
That's
have
what
an
I was going
easy
to say.
out.
Like, that's a teachable moment. And when you're lazy as a human and you're not going to work through it and you're just gonna be like, yeah, the easy thing is just not do it. Maybe it's not for them. Stop it with the excuses and just follow through on the commitment. If you say you're
Mm-hmm.
going to do something, you got to do it. Character and integrity matter. And we're lacking in character and integrity in a lot of the younger generation because we don't demand it of them. We don't get them to understand what these things are. We have a lot of representation and not a lot of authenticity with people. So if you wear the right thing, you say the right thing, you post the right way, you have the right comment. If you show up, say this, do this, write that, fine, you're good. It's a very surface situation, but the character and the integrity part of it, I think, is the only thing we really need to develop within people so that you are a person of your word. If you say something, we need to be able to trust it. Like I can't like the my one son plays guitar. I know nothing about guitar, so I let the teacher teach it. And I, excuse me, I'm lucky. I have a young dude who loves guitar, who's teaching my young dude who loves guitar. So it's this mutual passion for this thing, and it's great. And they feed off each other. I don't know anything about it, so I don't push. I take them, I pick them up, I say, "You happy? You like it? Cool. You want to show me something? Great. I don't even know what you're doing. It just sounds really cool to me." But I'm there to support the passion, the kind of thing. With the martial arts side of it, I'm not pushing them either. It's what we do because they want to be like dad. But like, I'm
Hmm.
not pushing them all, no matter what it is they do. It's just, again, if you say you're going to do it, do it. If you have a real reason not to do it and you're going to take that energy and put it into something else, I have no problem. But we don't take that energy and do nothing. And that's where, when I see a kid that's struggling in a sport and the parents like, yeah, you don't have to do it, but you didn't have the conversation of why not? And then where's that energy going to go? If it's going into Fortnite, we're fucked. If
Hmm.
it's going to go into something else positive that the kid identifies with more, and there's going to be a full commitment that's going to make them a better human, it's going to make them be a better adult, great. But like, some kids don't want to play sports. My both my sons don't play in other sports. My one son, my youngest, he loves basketball. He's obsessed with Michael Jordan out of nowhere. So he'll probably be playing more basketball than kickboxing over the next couple of years, which is fine if that's his choice. That's just what I see coming. My oldest son is a savage. He's skinny as hell. This little dude loves MMA, loves kickboxing, but he loves guitar. He loves to draw. He loves to write. So like he puts his efforts into those things. He doesn't like football, basketball, baseball, soccer. He doesn't like those things. That's fine. But he's not sitting at home doing nothing. He's always engaged in something. And that's the thing. Like you have to be engaged. You have to be proactive. You just can't be consuming, consuming, consuming. I had a guy yesterday, he's struggling. He can't get out of his head in sparring. And I said to him, I said, look, you have to stop reading books and you have to start writing books. Like, yes, we do have to read. I'm not saying it. It was a metaphor. He's in his head constantly like, well, what
Hmm.
could I watch? What could I listen to? What's
Yeah.
going to motivate me? I'm like, shut the fuck up and get to work. That's what's going to make it happen. You need momentum, man. Like, stop looking, start doing, and then put the two together eventually. But you don't just consume, consume, consume. You're going to be too full to take action. Get going. Just start, man. That's how I approach kind of everything. If I don't know how to do something, I just try and then I figure it out as I go. And I go to people that have achieved the things I'm looking to achieve and I ask for advice to accelerate the process. That's the game.
And to be clear, those kids who are quitting, I don't put it on the kids. I put it on their parents. It's like, because
100%.
it's, there's
And the
no such thing
coach
as
and the
bad kids.
teacher.
Yeah.
And it's
Yep.
all of it. It's all of it. Okay. So, I mean, I have so many examples of this. I mean, parent teacher night, the teachers are basically like, we don't agree, but we have no choice. Coaches, I want to say this, but I can't or I'll lose my job. There's just so many things people want to say and they want to do, but they feel in this environment that they're going to get called out and they're going to lose their access to the kids. So they would rather have less of an impact instead of no impact. And I'm like, this is ridiculous. Can we please allow people to have maximum impact instead of dumbing it all down to satisfy a small minority of people that are very vocal? We have to allow professionals to do their job. We have to allow passionate people to fully express themselves. We have to allow kids to have avenues where they can fully put themselves out there without like, well, I'm going to do this, but I'm not going to say this, and I'm not going to do that, and I'm not going to
Hmm.
go here, and I'm not. There's all these things. There's just so many limiting things, and when we limit, now there's no more dialogue. There's no more questions. And those are the things that leave us in these undefined spaces now. So if I'm able to express myself completely, and you are as well, now we have the ability to have a dialogue of, I feel this way for real in totality, and you're over here for real in totality. And now we can talk about the differences, and now something even greater can come out of it. I say all the time, we don't have to be friends, but we don't have to be enemies either. we can have differing opinions, but we also can find a lot of commonality. Because at the end of the day, we're all just human beings. We just have different contexts and perspectives and all that stuff. And it's all based on our experience. So if we bring our experience together, we can create something greater than if I sit here with mine and I'm quiet about it and yours, and we just kind of, stare each other down. Well, no, let's talk it out or bang it out. I don't care. That's the beauty of the gym. Like you were saying before, you go
Hmm.
in, you can punch each other in the face. Okay, you think your style works, I think mine does. Okay, let's figure it out for real. That the simplicity of sparring of like, oh, you think your shit's good? Well, I do. And okay, let's go. And at the end, we find out, no, you're good at this. I'm good at that. You got me here. I got you there. Or no, you just wiped me out because I was completely, out of left field, had no idea what I was talking about. But it's so complete. It's so honest. It's not a debate. That level of clarity. And that's a thing I with youth culture. I wish we had the ability to interact in more decisive ways. It's not all just so ambiguous. You know, black and white side of it. A plus B equals C, 2 plus 2 equals 4. Not just random. It's not whatever you want it to be. Everybody can't win. We have to have losers. Um, and losing is not failure. Losing is part of the process. We have to be able to do the hard things, man, and we've got to be able to not just be comforted all the time and just sit in the middle. So, yeah, it's in my entire life I've never had to deal with the things. I'll tell you a crazy one. So I have a lot of guys that fight in my academy. I've got 200 adults in the academy right now. About 1% fight. That's a decent amount. But over the last decade, the amount of people that drop out of fights, like pull out randomly as they get close to the fight, is skyrocketing. And it's because these 18 to say 25, 26-year-olds, they are like, I'm going to fight. And they get on Instagram and they put the photo, I'll fight and do this thing. But it's an abstract. They're 6 weeks out. Now they're training. They get tired. They have a bad day. And now they're going, wait a minute. I posted that I'm going to do this. Now I'm going to actually have to post the act. And then I'm going to have to post the result. And then I'm going to have to live what people think about it. And the whole world feels like they're watching. They feel like the whole world's watching when it's really like just friends and family and some random douchebag in Kansas City or something.
Hmm.
But it's not like this. It's not real pressure, but it's this idea of everybody watching, and that overwhelms them. And then they quit and they bail out. I've never had so many people bail. And that just goes to show you like the fear of reality, the fear of a decisive outcome, the fear of having to be faced with the possibility I'm not as great as I'm pretending to be, or that dream is just actually a dream. I'm not prepared for reality. So it's again, it's an odd time because I've never been faced with it at this level. I'm trying to work through it and get guys to be comfortable with the process, but that is the struggle of this day. This is the struggle of 2024 and probably the next decade.
Yeah, it's terrible because it only just leaches into everything else in those guys' lives. Everything,
The
every
ones that pull
aspect.
out
Yep.
and the ones that pull out of the fight, I don't see them doing anything now good. They're not doing any great things. They go to a place that's going to comfort them in their weakness, and they don't they don't achieve the things that we agreed we were going to set out to achieve, and that goes down to the commitment side of it. They come in with the idea of a commitment but not a real commitment, and then when they got to follow through, they don't have the tools and the skills and the infrastructure at home or in their personal lives to follow through. I may be the one who's sitting there saying you can do this, but everyone else is going, why would you? And they're not saying why would you, like why would you? They're saying I wouldn't, and I don't want you to because that's a projection of my weakness. And they don't see that. When you're young, you don't realize how much is being projected on you by the people around you. And when they're being critical, it's not of you, it's they want you to stay in the mediocrity of their lives.
So
And
true.
that's so hard. My number one, I tell everyone all the time. People say to me, "Why do you do things so different?" I my we run our academy very different. But I kind of explained to everybody, I'm like, look, if you want to be in the 1%, you have to abandon the habits and the practices of the 99. Just because we're different, it doesn't mean we're bad. It means we're striving to be better. I don't want to be in the middle. I want to be pushing the boundaries. I want to be moving forward. The only way to be moving forward is to stop doing what everybody else that's staying the same is doing. You can't expect different results with the same practices. You're going to get what everyone else gets. And if you're comfortable with that, fine. I'm just not that guy. That's just not me. It's not what I want out of my life. I want what I want, and it's not what necessarily what my neighbor wants. Ultimately, it probably is what everybody wants, but I'm actually willing to do it and not watch other people do it. And that's why I've achieved the things I have in my life so far, and I don't stop.
Yeah, it reminds me of this video I made, and I tell people all the time when you have someone saying, like, why don't you just live a little? Why you gotta be so strict on your diet? Why are you always going to the gym? Why do you work so hard? Just it's subconsciously they're worried that you're gonna leave them in life and go off somewhere where they are not going. And they want to keep you subconsciously. They might not be doing it intentionally. They want to keep you with them. It's like the lobsters in the fucking boiling water, like they'll just pull the other one down. The one that's trying to get
So
up, they'll just pull them back down.
but the other side of it too is it's not even as much as they want you to be with them. It's if you're trying to okay, bodybuilder, my wife is the best example of it. Like my wife's literally at the gym right now. It's her day off, so she's 4 hours this morning in the gym. She's a bikini competitor. My wife's a savage. She's also 38 years old, mother of two, and she looks like she's freaking 25 because of the work she's putting in. Natural, no steroids, none of that stuff. She just really hard worker, super disciplined. And then I have people who'll be like, okay, everything you just said. Why are you working out so hard? Why are you eating the way you're eating? All this kind of crap. And what they're looking for is when they see someone that's trying to perform at a high level, it's not that they want you to be with them. It's that they're looking at where they are and they're seeing what you're trying to do. And if they can pull you off your path, it justifies their existence even more. Like
Mm-hmm.
staying with people that are like you, it's moderately comforting, but it's a huge win if you can knock someone back down to your level. Like, see, I told you, you were being extreme. You're being crazy. Like, why were you
Mm-hmm.
doing that? Come be like me. They're just trying to feel better about what they know is not enough. It's like the moderation aspect of things. If you're not disciplined with your actions and you're constantly saying moderation, you're not moderate anymore. You're extremely off your path. Like I had a guy, it's a funny story. This guy's like, man, I don't know why I'm gaining weight. I'm only bad on the weekends. And I'm like, so Saturday and Sunday, what do you eat? He goes, no, the weekend. I'm like, Saturday, Sunday. He's like, no, man, it starts Thursday night when I get out of work. I'm like,
That's
bro,
half the fucking week.
I'm
Oh my
like,
god.
how many days are in the week? He's like, 7. I'm like, so 4 of them, you're shot. So you're only living good 3 days. That's why you're fat, bro. And he's like, oh, shit, you're right. Damn. Okay. I got to redefine my calendar. I'm like, but again, unintentionally oblivious because they just want to eat. And
Mm-hmm.
but that's where we're at. Like you get so many people that just they don't understand the value of the discipline and they don't like disciplined people. So they try and knock you off their discipline to feel better about their lack of it. And I'm not saying people are bad or anything. I think it's just human psychology. I don't think we sit here and are like, let me knock them down. It's just this weird voice inside that's like, let's feel better, let's feel better, let's feel better. We like to feel good. And sometimes we feel good when other people, feel bad because we can identify with that more than the pain of purpose. When you know your purpose, that pain is not pain. It's just it's letting you know you're on the path. I got my body's a roadmap of injuries from my fights over the years, and people always laugh at me. They're like, "Why are you smiling when you talk about your broken jaw?" My teeth don't touch because I got my jaw shattered, but I didn't have my jaw shattered like, you know, I didn't trip over a rock and fall in the woods. I was in a fight and a guy kneed me in the chin in the
Mm-hmm.
first round of a 3-round fight and I finished it. So this is an example to me of the grit I had at a time. It's a fond memory to me. At the time it sucked. It hurt really bad. But now I look back and I'm like, damn, I did that. If I can finish 3 rounds with, my jaw split in half, I mean, getting up at 1 o'clock in the morning when my kid's diaper had to be changed was nothing. Getting up early to go to work is nothing. Dealing with, the guys I'm dealing with now, it's nothing. My pain had a purpose. I know how far I can go. That's the gift of that. So pain is not this thing I avoid. It's not something I sadistically go after. It just if if I'm feeling pain, it's kind of like, oh, we're in it. Because there's no there's not too many things I've ever done in life that didn't come with a certain amount of pain. It's the price. It's the price. That's the struggle. So like when I'm dead tired, I'm like, oh, I'm working. That's a good thing. It's not like, oh my God, I'm tired. It's like, okay, we did something. Okay, what did we do? All right, cool. All right, I can live with this. We're good. Like I don't want to
Mhm.
go to bed staring at the ceiling because I'm not tired because I didn't do shit that day. I want to be like my eyes being heavy at 9:30 because I had a banger of a day. But again, that's just I don't know if that's just me or what, but I just changed it. And so the pain and the purpose keeps me going. I don't look at it as a burden. I don't look at it as a negative. I look at it as kind of living. That's you're alive because you're feeling something.
And when you broke that jaw, correct me if I'm wrong, but you did it doing something you loved.
Oh, I okay. Funny story. Guy loses a fight a couple weeks ago and quit on himself a little bit. And then a fighter of mine from 20 years ago showed up and he was talking about how he did something when he was like his pec ripped off the bone and he completed a lift. He's a strongman competitor now. And he ripped his pec and he still finished. The guy was like, what are you nuts? And we looked at him like, what do you mean? He's like, well, you're like, you tore your pec. Why didn't you stop? I was like, well, because it wasn't over yet. We're like not even processing what he said. And then I was laughing. I was like, you guys are looking at winning and losing as like this unscathed thing. I'm like, I can remember sitting in Osaka at K1 headquarters having a conversation with 5 fighters from around the world that were friends of mine. And we literally were like, yeah, I won this event. Oh, yeah? Well, I did an event similar and my finger was broken. Oh, yeah? I blew my knee out. Oh, yeah? I had a concussion. Oh, yeah? Someone in my family died and I still sucked it up. Like we were fighting over to see who had a worse life, like who
Hmm.
had the bigger adversity to overcome. And when I talk to guys now, they're like, you're nuts. Why would you do that? Why would you fight with a broken hand? Why would you fight with a concussion? Why would you overlook the pain of all this stuff? And it's like, because that's what makes it that much more special. Like I'm not, man, I would love to be able to win easy, but it rarely ever happened. And when it did happen, I'm not walking around like, yeah, that was easy. It's kind of like, okay, I won. But the hard one where I had to overcome something, that's the one I never forget. Man, I've lost fights that I feel better about than some of the ones I've won, where I was like, I just survived. Like I was like, I should have died in the second round, but I went
Hmm.
3 more. Like the meaning and the purpose and the satisfaction of those memories, man, that's that's the shit that I'm like, guys, that's the greatest gift you're ever gonna get is that banger. You may have lost, but you wanted to quit and you did it and you proved to yourself you're stronger than you were giving yourself credit for. Like you're way stronger than you knew walking in there. Now you know who the fuck you are. Walk with your head high. Doesn't matter win or lose. You found out some real stuff. And that's that where you're saying before where I agree. You kind of need to get to that physical confrontation level to be able to push to really understand that about yourself. There are things you have to do that you got to go to that dark place and you got to be like, okay, can I keep going? Can I survive this? I call it answering the question. I think if you do anything difficult long enough, you're going to get to a point where the question comes up like, what am I going to do right now? And you can coast, quit, or kill is what I define it as. You can coast and kind of fake it and see what happens. You can quit, and quitting more times than not is looking for a way out where you can save face,
Yep.
or you just say, "All right, I'm going to die on this hill today, and I'm gonna. It's kill or be kill time. I'm going to kill this guy, or I'm going to die in here." And that can happen in so many different aspects. Um, but yeah, like, are you gonna like plant your flag and say this territory is mine? Come take it, or are you going to put yourself in that ambiguous area? I would rather not, because I that's like at 3 a.m. 10 years from now, you're going to get up to take a piss, and you're not going to be able to go back to sleep because you're going to remember that shitty decision you made where you let yourself down, and that feeling never goes away. You know, unless you try and climb another mountain and it overcomes it. So I'm friends with John Jones. You know who John Jones is?
Yeah.
All right, so John Jones, arguably greatest UFC fighter of all time. I brought a fighter to meet him, and he said to him, he goes, "You're really young in your career." He goes, "Understand that the chip I have on my shoulder is because I didn't win nationals as an 18-year-old in JUCO." And we're like, "What?" He's like, "I'm almost 40, champ of the world. I walk into that octagon feeling like I'm an 18-year-old who's going to be exposed as a loser." Like that feeling never left him. He doesn't enjoy his moment as much as he could because of a decision he made when he was 18 in some semifinal match. It doesn't matter who you are, it doesn't matter what you achieve. If we make certain decisions where we feel weak, sometimes that feeling will never leave us. And you have to respect that. You have to respect the impact of your choices. And that's why, going back to the video, I couldn't let my son quit because at 6 is one thing. At 16, I don't want him to look back and say, I didn't do it. Dad held me. Dad let me not do it. Fuck it. I don't have to do things. I want him to
Exactly.
go, I started off a warrior. I'm going to stay one.
Hmm.
So it's crazy. It's really crazy the impact of our choices and the lifelong effects they have. I'm 50. I legitimately think of a couple fights from my 20s that I would send a plane ticket and put on an event to fight some other old dude right now to get it back. Like there are some fights where I know I could have done things. I wish I did things, but that's the burden of life. You have to live with these decisions. But, I just tell everybody minimize that. It'll bury you if you make too many of them.
So true. I mean, the graveyard is filled of what ifs, you know, because then so
Yeah.
many people don't ever want to get back on that horse, or they never even attempted to get on the horse.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
I mean, I'm 50 and I'm still in it, man. And I'm in it because I see this struggle in so many people, and I really enjoy the winning and the losing is great, man. I hate losing more than I like winning. I'm highly competitive, but at the same time, when I see that moment where it shifts for somebody, when they go with this is an idea to this is now a reality, I am this, that's what gets me up in the morning. That's what keeps me coming back. That's what excites me about the process. If I never go back to the UFC, whatever. Um, I keep trying to tell people when you get to the top of the mountain, it's not as pretty as you think. Um, it's the individuals that you're doing it with. It's not where you are. It's not the level that you're performing at. It's the people that you're with. And it's having that shared goal and working through it. That's the satisfying part. So I don't care if it's an amateur fighting in Delaware or a professional fighting, internationally. If we're on the same page, the feeling and the satisfaction is the same at the end of the day. Um, so yeah, like I'm not here to be a part of someone's glorious failure. I'm here to win, but not at the sacrifice of humanity. Like I don't want you to lose yourself in the process. Um, if we walk out of there and I feel like you're going to be better off from the experience, that's where I'm good. And that's what I'm trying to achieve. That's what I'm working towards. At 50, I'm working towards that. At 20, I just wanted to win everything all the time at any cost. But now I'm like, it's a little bit more balanced.
let's talk about losing and the benefits of losing. You got guys like Jocko Willink, who says you either win or you learn. You have guys like Mike Tyson, who says, and you must fail in order to succeed. And you had a great video talking about nobody gives a fuck if you're the undefeated amateur champion of Delaware. Nobody remembers that guy.
Nobody gives a fuck. No one gives a fuck. Exactly.
And I
Um,
tell my son all the time, it's like he's that kid who hates losing more than he likes winning. And my kid
yeah.
wins at a lot of things. Um, and I'm always telling him when he loses, it's like, what'd you learn? What did you learn? Like just straight up, what'd you learn? And even if he doesn't want to talk about it right away, next morning at breakfast, what'd you learn? And we'll go over it because I think it's vital.
Let's look at the value of trying is the first thing I hit people with. It's like, okay, first off, win or lose, forget about it. You just did something that the vast majority of people will never do. It
Hmm.
doesn't matter what it is. The initial, okay, I'm going to give this a shot is monumental. Now we have to look at the practical reality of the execution part of it. And then we have to start addressing things. If it's a technical problem, easy fix. We just go back to it and we work on it. If it's a mental problem, okay, now we've got to figure out where is it coming from. I don't have it on me right now, but I have a backpack that I take everywhere, and I have a book in there. I call it my Demon of Doubt book. I used to struggle a lot with stress because I cared way too much about the perception that the world was going to have of my outcomes. When you start operating at a high level, at one point, man, I was going week after week after week to big show, big show, big show. Uh, a lot of things would be said, good and bad, no matter what the performance was, and it was eating me alive. Like I was living too much in the comment section for a minute of time. So I physically was suffering from it. I was having bad anxiety. My stomach's killing me. And then I just was like, you know what? I've got to narrow this down. So I started writing it out. Like, why am I feeling this way? And when I was able to peg where the thoughts were coming from, they would stop happening. And then over a couple of years of really drilling down and finding out where the motivation, where the triggers are, all that kind of stuff, and letting all that stuff go, now I'm very comfortable. So I really take that process to people when they do stuff. When you fail, it's like, okay, again, you tried. High five. Let's go. We've got some momentum. Here are the technical things. Okay. We can fix that. The mental things. We've got to figure out why you're quitting on yourself. We've got to figure out why you don't have a positive response to a negative outcome. And then, putting that all together and then figuring out the game. A lot of times it's just experience. It's like, look, you're young, you haven't done this before. You fought a guy who's been doing it longer or a guy who's lived longer. When you're 18 years old and you fight a 26-year-old, you're like, oh, they're both young. Okay, 18-year-old who graduated high school 3 months ago, 26-year-old who doesn't live at home, has a car payment and a house and a job, very different mentalities. That's a
Hmm.
man, that's a child. The two sometimes don't mix so well. So like you have to look at all the aspects of it and put it all together, and then you have to just practically break it down. Failure is part of the process. You can't the one pitfall here is that when you say failure is part of the process, that can become an out. You really still have to focus on the importance of winning. Winning is the goal. The goal is to not live with failure. The goal is to fail so that you win the next one.
Hmm.
You may have to lose two or three on the way up so that you never lose again. It That's the reality of it. Like I have a woman, Jen, who fights for me. She lost her first three fights. I'm sorry, was it three or is it two? One, two. It was two. It was her third fight. That was the stress one. She lost two fights. We're going into the third fight, and we're like, shit. If she loses this one, there's no road back here. Like everything we've been saying is not going to be believed. Like we're like, no, stay the course, stay the course. Why the fuck are you gonna stay the course? You just lost three in a row. You're not going to believe in us. You're not going to believe in yourself. We're like, we need to achieve something you're going to believe in. And then she like smashes this girl, and then it was like, I get it now. It all makes sense. So a lot of people will use that, failure is part of the process and turn that into failure is their process. And then they use quotes to be comfortable with it. You have to win more than you lose, and you have to win the big ones. Um, Champions are champions because they win on the day when the belt's on the line. You don't have to win them all to be a champion. You just have to win when the belt's on the line. Everything before that should be the practical experience you need to be strong when it matters. And that's like that balance that you have to work through is where you have to understand that, yes, failure is part of the process. The goal is to win, but you have to constructively deal with failure. You have to hate it. You have to learn to live with it. And you have to appreciate that you're going to be better from it and then actually go be better from it. If you're not better from it, there was no point to it. And don't do it anymore. If you can't be better from failure, stop. Just stop. Go do something else. You're not meant for this.
Hmm.
I tell my fighters, I want you to beat your opponents so bad that they go get another job. That's what I want. I want you to make them feel like they should never do this again. I want them to be overwhelmed with how determined and good you are that they feel inferior in the sport. Do I really want that for the opponent? No, but that's the attitude you have to take into what it is you do. You have to be that good. You have to be that determined. I've had guys beat me and never fight again because it was too hard to beat me. Like I was a tough dude. Like I could take a shot and I made people feel like they had no power because they would hit me and I smile at them. You might win on points, but you didn't beat me. Like that's the attitude I want you to have at all times. Just like, no, I'm going to get mine no matter what. So yeah, it's a complicated thing. It's kind of horrible. Like if you take this out of context, it sounds kind of shitty, but like you have to go to these dark places to compete. You have to you have to want to dominate. You have to want to be
Oh,
the best ever.
oh yeah, I completely agree. Even as a man of faith, I literally talk about that. Like I have a cousin, man of faith, D1 baseball player, and he's big into that book, Relentless by Tim Grover, who was a trainer of
Okay.
Michael Jordan. And in that book, he talks about how when he trained Jordan, Kobe, D Wade, they all were able to go to that dark place. And it's like,
Yeah.
well, and then someone's like, well, how do you go to that place, that dark place as a man of God? And it's like, it's still very fucking capable. It's the same thing. Just it is merely a tool that is in our toolbox. Or like my son, he's the nicest fucking kid. You'd meet him, you'd be like, oh my gosh, you guys are such great parents. He's so sweet. He says, yes, sir. He says, thank you. He says, pleases. But when he wrestles, my boys are in wrestling. I literally talk about the mat is that place where you have to make them quit. Otherwise, he's going to try to
Yeah.
make you quit. He's going to try to make you quit. Here's where you get to be a monster. You're an absolute animal. The second you're done, you can give them a hug. You can talk about fucking Legos, whatever you want. But when you're on there, it is different. And you have to understand that. And we talk about it so much that it's like I'm programming him to have this ability in his mind to be able to go to this different place when he's on that wrestling mat. And then when he's outside of it, just the normal day, we don't even mention those things. But when it comes
It's a
time,
light switch.
it
It's a
is.
light switch, man. They have to learn the skill of when to turn it on, when to turn it off, and when it's appropriate.
Yeah, and it's like here's the place where you just get to be the most aggressive. I don't care if you have to use your brother pisses you off and there's anger that you want to unleash. Whatever it is, you have to be willing to hurt them because you're going to come across a kid who's going to want to hurt you. And then after, shake their hand, give them a hug.
But that's the agreement. As long as we play within the rule set of what it is we're doing and we agree that we're going to push it as far as we can, I think, uh, a friend to no one is a friend to nobody. You have to have rivals. You
Oh,
have
your
to
friend
have
to everybody.
enemies.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you're a friend of everyone, you're a friend of no one.
Hmm.
You can't glad hand everybody and expect because you're not real. You have no opinion at that point.
Yep.
The greatest had rivals, and their rivals are what made their skills so much better because they lived in fear of losing to someone else. I had people that fought a year ago at Nationals, came back this year the second time. And the first time they were all scared to death because they never did it before. And they all performed way above their level because of the fear. And then the next year, when the fear was lower because they felt they had experience now, some of them rose to the technical occasion and maintained that sense of like, no, this is a very hard thing. And then a couple were like, yeah, I've done this before. And they didn't go as far as they could because they lost the fear. Michael Jordan, the beauty of him was he literally manufactured anger and fear.
Yeah.
He would make stories up to put himself in that place because he knew that's what he needed to win. And people say, well, that's not authentic. No, that's knowing yourself and using
Hmm.
the tools of psychology and science to put yourself in a maximum performance place. Now, it's your job to go win, and it's the other guy's job to try and win too. And if we're both elite and we're both pushing, something beautiful is going to occur. One guy's going to win, one's going to lose, but something really beautiful is going to occur. That's that's the championships that we never forget. Those are the battles that it's those two names that will live together forever. One gets a ring, one doesn't, but they needed each other. You need an opponent. You need someone to push you. You don't have to hate each other in sport, but you do have to be prepared to push each other because the other side of it is there's always another level. There's always another season. There's always a guy coming up. So if we
Mhm.
don't push each other, neither one of us are going to be able to stay relevant much longer. So it's this gift that we have to stay productive, to stay there. We have to be fighting for that top spot to stay in the top spot. Because the minute the agreement gets weaker on one side, both are dropping. And then that dark horse comes up and takes it away from us. So you always have to stay hungry. You always have to have the fear. You always have to appreciate the push. The hardest fights I ever had, I always hugged somebody after. It was like, damn, dude, you made me figure something out today. Like it wasn't like, why'd you try to hit me so hard? It was like, thank God you did that. Like if you
Mhm.
didn't do that, I wouldn't be doing the things I'm doing. And if they didn't do it, they would be missing out on themselves. It's like that's the balance. And that's only people in the arena understand. Like if you don't ever get in the arena and you're just on the outside and you're a keyboard warrior and you've just read books and you've just watched, content, you don't understand the reality of this mutual combat scenario, which is all things when it's you versus another person to try and achieve something. It could be in the office, it could be in school, it could be on a basketball court, it could be in a cage or a ring, it could be anywhere, it could be in a debate. But it's like when you fully, honestly engage with the intention of defeating your opponent, ultimately you both win.
Yeah. All right. I love that. I got one more for you off a video.
Sure.
Um, you had a video talked about if you feel that you are blessed, just know that you are cursed. If you want to blame someone for your failures, make sure you also give them the credit for your success.
Uh
Um,
huh.
Mike Tyson was interviewing Francis Ngannou. I don't know if you saw this, and he
No.
said, "Francis, just know that with all your skills and power, you are favored by God." And Francis is like eating it up, and he goes, "But also know that those who are favored by God are favored by the devil." And it parallels with exactly what you're saying. Can
Yeah.
you dive deeper into that philosophy from that video?
Yeah. So the main thing is if you don't take responsibility for all of it, you can't you can't pick and choose, man. Like you can't take all the credit and give away all the blame. You have to understand that if you're going to say life impacted me in this way and it caused me to fail, and then you're going to say the only reason I win is because of me, well, you're missing
Hmm.
reality.
Hmm.
We are an accumulation of all of our interaction, all of our experience, but ultimately everything that happens is based on our choices due to our reactions to our experiences. So if you're going to give away the control in one area and then try and claim it in the other, you're really just out of control. So like you have to understand that everything is your fault basically. You know, when you win, it's because of how you're utilizing your experience. When you lose, it's because how you're utilizing your experience. There are happenstance. There are weird things that occur. But for me, I'm like, okay, so if I slip and fall at an event on my way out to the ring, um, I could say that was luck. You could probably dive down and come up with some reasons why you shouldn't have been in that situation. But ultimately, like, don't get mad. Just take it for what it is. Get ready for the next one. The pointing of the fingers, it's too much of a distraction. You don't want to inflate your head by just saying how great you are, and you don't want to like blow up the world by saying everything that's wrong is its fault. Like in the middle, taking responsibility, it just keeps the control in your hands, and it puts you in a place where you can always have an analytical view of stuff instead of chance. I don't believe in chance in a productive level. I believe we make our own luck. Again, if you say you're blessed, well, now you're leaving yourself to be cursed. And so you're limiting yourself, because if you get into the blessed and cursed model, the problem ends up happening here is that you're like, oh, I'm blessed. I've got, the hands of God. But if it's not going your way, then the idea of like, well, maybe I fell out of God's favor starts to come into play. Maybe I'm being punished for something else. Now you're not even in the moment anymore. Now you're in this abstract and you're
Hmm.
not executing fully. But if you go out there and you say, I'm well trained, I'm prepared to execute, and then you're faced with adversity, you're still saying, I'm well trained, I'm prepared to execute, and part of execution is adjustment. You're not worrying about the abstract. You're in the moment and you're executing and you're adjusting. It's you reassess and go forward. You just keep the power in your hands. Don't give yourself an excuse to quit. Saying you're cursed, that's a real easy way out. This is the
Yeah.
easiest way out. It's not my fault. It's the universe or some shit. I get these young guys tell me, oh, I'm going to will my way through it, the universe. I'm like, dude, we're on a rock hurtling through space. The universe doesn't give a shit about you. Like, you have to give a shit
Hmm.
about you. You have to take control. You have to respond to everything coming to you. There's no like fake it till you make it. No, you make it. That's all there is. Just make it so. And yeah, and you'll lose the grit if you start getting into blessed and cursed. It's your fault, my fault, whatever. The blame game is just one big excuse ridden monster. And again, the problem is that the vast majority of messaging we have is nothing's your fault. But the reality of it is it's all our fault. It's all our fault. Every single thing is our fault. It's our inability to communicate, our inability to work together, our inability to look past certain things, the inability to accept other things, the inability to take action when we need to. It's all our fault collectively. I say this quite often too. We're only as fast as the slowest guy in the room. If you're a team, you're not as good as the greatest guy, because then you don't try. You just ride their coattail. But if you say we're only as fast as the slowest guy, we're working to make that person faster, because we know in the
Hmm.
process of helping them, it's elevating us. And that's really where that comes down to, is like understanding that, get rid of the judgment side, take responsibility for your choices and your actions, and respect the people around you enough to not blame them and to not necessarily just give credit, but to like practically understand the relationships, understands what's working, what's not working without judgment, and adjusting on the fly, recognizing the value of everybody else coming up is pushing you forward. Like, this is the struggle for me of humanity in general. Like, if we could fix that, the majority of the problems that we have as parents, as communities, they go away. Man, I got Palestinians standing next to Jews. I got Muslims and Christians. I got atheists and everything. When that fucking bell rings on my mat, we're all brothers and sisters sweating together.
Yeah.
There's no
That is
differences.
true.
We're all dying because we have a common purpose. So if our purpose can just be how do we be the best versions of ourselves and we're there to help each other, all the other definitions bleed away and we're just more effectively human.
Hey, that's a good one to end on right there.
All right. Yeah, man, it's funny how that little bastard Reed, we call him Wreck It Reed, how that little bastard's emotional reaction has just opened up so many different doors to conversations. And I think more fathers, more parents do have to come together and we have to have more conversations about stuff. And the one thing I just want to address real fast is a bunch of people. The one that bothered me the most is I've had a couple people that have said you're a bad father for miking yourself up going into that. So I run a business and we have a documentary film crew who follows us around to create content to distribute so that people are aware of who we are and how we operate. By chance, my son had a meltdown on camera. And I recognized the value of that moment. And I didn't put it out like, yo, I'm trying to get 1 million views. I thought I'll get 10,000 maybe because that's like average on this. This thing blew up on its own because it just resonated with people.
Hmm.
And we didn't go down there looking to make my son suffer to get views. We went down there to do what we do and we wanted to share the experience. And that was just one of the experiences that we had. I didn't even touch upon the fact that my son, both of my sons fought, and a third child fought. His father died 30 days before that event. And that man was my best friend and was like an uncle to my children. And we were all going through massive grief down there. He was supposed to fight that weekend in the Masters division. He died of a heart attack at 41 years old. And we carried that with us. And if my son was ever going to freak out, it was going to be then because my shirt had Jay on the back of it. And his son was fighting right after him. And we were like in it, man. Like we were in the most raw emotional state a team could be because we lost our right hand and like our spiritual leader in a lot of ways. So if you're going to come down on us for this moment, just to understand what the moment really was, and it wasn't a like and view grabbing event. It was a really, really real, raw moment. And I think that's why it resonates. And the ones that it doesn't resonate with because they're being shallow about it, I hope you just understand that it was very deep for us. And we shared it because we wanted to have conversations like this. And we want people to understand that, yes, we all have to fight through pain at times. And we do it together. And that's what Killer Bee is all about. So,
Yeah,
yeah.
and more fathers, parents in general, I think they need to be listening to things like this, having conversations, exactly what we're doing. Because, like you mentioned earlier, if we want to grow as a culture and get rid of differences, we have to be willing to communicate about things. And
Yes.
again, there's no such thing as bad children. There's just lack of leadership in the household.
I 1000% agree. Caveat to that, too, though, is you know this, you're a dad. Being a parent doesn't come with an instruction manual.
No.
And not everybody has the experience to be the parent that we necessarily are talking about, people we would hope they aspire to be. So the conversations have to be had because we don't have a playbook for this. So I come at this with a tremendous amount of empathy. I'm fortunate to be in the position that I'm in. And I want, without judgment, to let other parents know that no matter how good or bad you think you are as a parent, there are conversations for us to grow. Whatever wounds you think you have, they can be healed. Whatever damage you're afraid you're going to do on your kid, you're going to do it if you don't address it.
Hmm.
So don't be afraid of the process. Don't be afraid of the communication. Don't be afraid of being judged. Just chill out. Recognize that we're all in the same damn struggle and we are all responding to our experiences differently. And, we all have an opportunity to be better. And whatever has been done. Learn from it, move forward, be better, and just recognize that your personal fears should not be the burden your children bear. So if there's any motivation to overcome, let it be those little kids that literally know nothing and have no experience.
Brian, thank you.
All right, man. I really appreciate you having me on. And yeah, man, this was great. Beautiful conversation.